Hi, I'm Trevor Conquergood. Welcome to this week's RNK Software Club's video of the week, and the topic for this week is going to be embossing. And if you look on the screen, you'll see a design of a leaf, and I used embossing to create the veins of that design. Now let me come on camera and show you guys how it stitches out like. And so isn't that a unique technique? Because it's still a one-color design. The veins of the leaf are simply done by having the needle points all step in just the right spot to create that extra dimension we call embossing. And so I'm going to take you guys back into the RNK software and show you how to make that. And perhaps what I can do is just start by creating a new empty workspace and choose something that we might want to emboss. So basically, I'm just going to start with a piece of artwork because like anything in the RNK software, it's really all about artwork. In other words, you need something that you can select, right? A shape. And so this baseball bat, I essentially just went onto my custom shape library and selected this baseball bat. And it's a piece of artwork right now. It's not currently any embroidery. It's just vector artwork. And what I am going to do with it is I'm going to actually copy it and paste it. And so there's two baseball bats, and I'll take the second one and just flip it sort of like vertically, or I guess that's horizontally, so that it creates like cross baseball bats. Now what I really have is two individual baseball bats, and if I'm going to select both of them and just uncheck the fill, as I want you to see that they're really two complete baseball bats that overlap each other. But I'm going to emboss these baseball bats, and so I was thinking that I would probably only like to emboss the outline of the baseball bats and not these lines where they kind of intersect each other. And so to be able to successfully do that, I'm going to need to use the welding technique. And essentially welding, it would be the same thing if you wanted to cut this out of vinyl and you wanted to do a vinyl cut. You wouldn't really want the vinyl to cut across those, gaps. So what you really want is a new outline that's just the common outline around these two baseball bats. And so that's up here in your sort of artwork tools. I'm not sure exactly what we call them, but we've got things like trim and weld and intersect and exclude. And so if I choose weld, it welds the two shapes together into one shape, and it takes the common outline of the two shapes and it gets rid of any interior lines. And so I just made an artwork shape of cross baseball bats. Now, like I said, I was thinking I would emboss this into a piece of embroidery fill. And so if you make some fill, and maybe I'll just start with a basic shape like a rectangle or something like that, and you draw like a box like this, and you select your box and fill it in with thread. So here I have a box that's filled in with, normal standard fill. And here's the artwork for the crossed baseball bats. It's underneath the fill, so we can't really see it, and that doesn't matter whether it's underneath or on top. But if you want to see it on top, you can drag it to be like, last thing in the design. But that's not required, because this is how embossing works. First of all, select the artwork that you want to emboss. And the tool is here. It's this yellow one on your bottom tool group called embossing. And so you have to, first of all, have an artwork selected when you click on embossing. And so it tells the software that baseball bat is going to be your embossed shape. And notice that it's created like a duplicate of that shape, and it's labeled it as embossing. Now, to show this to you, I'm actually just going to hide everything that's on top so that I can zoom in. And so can you see what's happened is the fill, the needle points of the baseball bats have all aligned themselves right along this area here to create the fill. And if I turned off the 3D and I turned on the show needle points, you would see the same concept, that all of the needle points have created of a line that makes the shape of those cross baseball bats. And so that is what's called or known as embossing. And you can emboss any piece of artwork onto any sort of embroidery that you want to. So another example of embossing is text. So for example, I'm not going to use embroidery because embossing works with artwork. So what I really want is artwork of my text. And that's where we have, the tool that says import true type font artwork, but it doesn't convert it into embroidery. It leaves it as artwork. And so I don't know if you just put TEAM or something, your team name, and you put that, onto your embroidery wherever it is that you want it to go. And again, what I have here is a vector artwork. And so now I'm simply going to come down here and click on the embossing tool, and that will emboss the word team into my fill. And again, I can kind of hide those things with the little eyeball so that it kind of allows me to show you the effect of the word team. Now, stitch angle matters because the fill that we're currently sewing is sewing at 0. And notice the letter T, how it's not as noticeable along the top of that line as it is kind of along the side. So sometimes when I do, embossing, it may encourage me to select that area of fill and try a different stitch direction to see if, because if you're doing a circle, embossing a circle, well, there's not going to be any one perfect stitch direction because some part of everything's going to hide on it. Now, that one works out great for the word team, but it starts to become a challenge for the baseball bats, right? And so you have to find an angle for your fill that shows off the shape of the embossing and doesn't hide it. And so there may not be a perfect, degree to use, but so there's one that still allows the baseball bat to show and also still allows the top of the letter T to sew. And so, not sew, but show. Anyway, this is how embossing works. It's not perfect for every situation, but imagine that you're doing a design of an elephant and you fill in the body of the elephant and then you draw little squiggly lines, across his legs to give it the wrinkles and whatnot. This is what I did with the maple leaf, right? I took the leaf shape and I drew in the veins, and then those veins were allowed to emboss it. And that's what I was showing you in the picture earlier when I came on camera, is the stitch out of the embossed leaf. And this is another sample that I made. And it's a little sewing machine, and it says Singer, and it's embossed into the fill like that. And so I hope you enjoyed today's video, you guys. I hope you're doing well, and thank you so much for listening. But that is the cool technique that we call embossing, and that's what the topic for today's video was about. So until next time, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.